access farrowing systems in outdoor arcs that allow nesting behavior, as well as with confined farrow systems. It has 3 questions followed. So the first one is, what difference have you observed between the two in terms of farrowing duration and the level of stress expressed by the sow? You want to answer that, or I can give the 3 of them together?
Yeah, no, I can answer them one by one. It's fine. So
Okay.
I've actually never measured the lengths of farrowings, but I would say that indoor versus outdoor, I would say there's a huge difference in the, there will be a difference in the length, because I think sows that's giving birth outdoor are more fit for farrowing. So you don't have to give like externals to drag out pigs. They don't get stuck in farrowing because of all the exercise. They are fitter for having a long farrowing. So I would probably look at it as, what do we have more stillborn when we're looking outdoor or indoor? The thing is, sometimes outdoor you are missing some recordings because you have a lot of straw, and sometimes piglets they kind of disappear in the straw, so you will probably lose maybe half a pig that's not been recorded in average. But I have seen more stillborn indoor. Again, I think it's due to less fitness for indoor sows. I haven't never measured the length of the farrowings, but I will measure it in the well-being of the sow. Sorry. And I've used a lot less antibiotics when you're doing outdoor farrowings, again, due to fitness. And this is also comparing, during my 30 years, you're seeing sows going from fixed in gestation to loose housing in gestation. It have improved, but it's not the same fitness level as a sow that's walking outside on grass every day. Definitely not. So yeah.
Perfect. Is there a difference in how long it takes on 8 piglets to reach the udder and access colostrum?
If there is, say that again, please.
Yes. Is there a difference in how long it takes on 8 piglets to reach the udder and access colostrum?
I honestly don't know. I do know there's been lots of trials making on indoor sows, where they actually have measured that piglets are sitting up to 45 minutes behind the sow, which is a bit fatal. So if you have listened to my the podcast we made earlier this year, you would understand. Okay, that's only 19 degrees behind, the sow, or maybe 16 on the slats, and they're in there for 45 minutes. That must create a lot of chilling. So looking at the outdoor, we're not in the same kind of risk of getting cold piglets because they're born into a lot of straw. The environment around the pig might be not as warm as an indoor stable, but they are dried quicker because they are sitting in the straw. So I think we in that way we're preventing chilling. So without knowing it, I would think that the piglets get quicker to the other compared to an indoor, because they don't face all these obstacles about being so cold. But that's on me. Yeah.
And the third one from Stefan is, in your experience, how does the first paddy gilt perform in each system, and are there compatible advantage or disadvantage?
Okay, so I would say, because outdoor, if we start with outdoor and gilts, they can be very social. It is a sow's behavior to leave the group when they're gonna farrow, so they want to go out and be alone. And we see this indoor. If you don't move them to the farrowing houses quick enough, we can start seeing an abnormal behavior like vulva biting, because they're stressing. They want to go out, they want to build the nest, they want to be separate from the group. Whereas gilts outdoor, they're like, oh, I miss my friend, I'm going to stay in the same hut as her. So they're very social, and sometimes they like to stay 2 gilts in the same hut. So for me, it's very important when we call it loading. So when I'm taking pregnant gilts or sows into the farrowing, I would do like a gilt in one pen, sow in one pen, a gilt, a sow, because the sows are not likely to go in with the gilts. So that's one way of doing it. So that is the biggest problem with gilts, or can be outdoor, that they want to go in and then they're going to farrow two in the same hut. And if the hut is not big enough, you're going to have a lot of piglets laid on. So that could be one of the issues. Indoor, again, for a gilt, if she's, there's lots of different sizes of gilts. So there's a lot of problems related to a heavy girl, and it could be a heavy gilt or a heavy sow. It doesn't really matter. So I don't know what I think is easier. I think that is the problem outdoor is what I just mentioned. I think for indoor, it's again loading the gilts into the farrowing houses so they have time to adopt a new environment and less stress. And then I will mention this until the day I'm not here anymore. Please give them some rooting material. This is so important for the sow to have rooting materials. You have to go and Google or go on YouTube and ask for videos of sows without nesting materials. And it is breaking your heart. Yeah. So yeah.
Perfect. So the second question that I have here is from Joaquin Lara, and he asks you, what are the most common mistakes in the first 72 hours after birth that significantly increase piglets mortality, and what should farms prioritize to prevent it?
Okay, so the first number one mistake everywhere is the temperature. It's the temperature. So as I mentioned earlier, if a piglet is spending an average 45 minutes behind a sow before it reaches the other, and it's sitting on the slats that's maybe 16, 19 degrees, the room temperature would be around maybe 20, 22, because that's what the sows like. They're like a little warmer around farrowing, then it's going to go down to 18 after farrowing. But so the piglets are sitting in there, and it's fatal because they're going to be so cold. That is the number one mistake. There's not sufficient heat for newborn piglets. So my number one way of fixing it could be hanging an extra heat lamp behind the sow. Now, be careful, with heating lamps, that they are fixed. The sows cannot get to them, that they cannot rip them down. I've seen farrowing houses burning. That's horrible. You don't want to experience that. So be careful what you choose. Make sure it's safe. If you don't have that extra heating lamp, I will put straw behind the sow. I know this is extra work, but it will be really, really good. Another thing you can do is to prevent chilling is being around when the sows are farrowing, and then dry them and put them under the lamp. PIC have made lots of really good information about this, and some really good evidence and it's also statistic. And I've done it, and this is my quickest way of reducing pre-wean mortality has been these first 24 hours, adding more heat to farrowing houses. And I mean like half dead. So we had one section in the farrowing house where I was working. We had 2,000 sows, so it's quite big. And one section, every time I could see, I was a consultant on this farm. Every time that a group of sows went through that section, the pre-wean mortality just went high. And I thought, okay, there's something wrong in that section. Now I could look at the papers, and I went out on the farm, and it was there was no heating in the floor, and the heating lamp was 150 watt, so it's very little. So we changed two things. We changed the light bulb to a 250, and then we added some rubber mats underneath, so that's heating up really quickly. And then the piglets could go on the rubber mat with the heat lamp over, and that halved it. It was going from 24% to 12%, like this. Yeah. So it is. And when I tell people, could you dry piglets? Like, no, because then we have to be up here all night. Well, what can we do then? Could you add some more heat or get them away from the slats? I think you can even buy heated mats that you can put in. So there's really no excuse. So I would say it again, minimum temperature for the critical lower temperature for a newborn pig is 35. Every time it's below 35, and it is quite warm, it will start using the energy, and it has very little energy when it's newborn. So yeah, that was a long answer.
No,
hope it's okay.
but super important.
It is important. That is really important.
Yeah. And Joshua Salazar, or Jose Salazar, he asked, in our farm, uterine and rectal prolapse are the main cause of mortality in sows close to farrowing. What action plan do you recommend to prevent or reduce these cases in the farrowing house?
Yes. So prolapses, it's a difficult one. It's a bit like tail biting, because it could be like several things that is wrong. It could be a health problem. If sows are coughing a lot, that can cause the prolapses. Also, if you have a diet that's low in fiber, could also be an issue. It could be mycotoxins. So what I would suggest him, it could be insufficient water if they don't drink enough. If they, I don't know if they're in stalls like all the time. So, inactivity is causing constipation. So he has to go out and look at the faces to see if are they constipated. He needs to, I will probably, start to look at what does the shit look like. This is because it's telling a lot, isn't it? And then I would go in, take feed samples. I would talk to my nutritionist, hear what could be changed in the diet. And I mentioned it before, if the gestation diet is very different from the lactating, and then all of a sudden they're getting like a high, a diet with a high level of protein, it can be really hard for the sows to adjust, especially if it's changing like from one day to another day, and the difference is too much, then we can have the constipation. It could be a health issue again, so he needs to ally with his vet, maybe get some blood samples. So again, it's not I don't know what's wrong with his herd, as again, it could be various things, but I will start ticking some boxes. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay, I have the last question, just a minute. Not the last question, so he finished, so I have another one, and his name is Jose Ruiz, and he is asking the optimal feeding management for sows in late gestation and during lactation to maximize milk quantity and quality without compromised body conditions. So what is the optimal feeding management?
Yes. So so we're looking at the last bit of the gestation period. I think he must talk about bump feeding. So just quick talk about feeding gestation. So sows are coming back. They've been inseminated. Hopefully they look good after weaning. We feed them so they're back in condition after 5 weeks, 4 or 5 weeks. Not too hard. If you give like a lip, it can impact on the progesterone, and the progesterone stays in the liver. Is a bit more technical, and it has to stay out in the ovaria. Never mind. So back in condition after 4 to 5 weeks. Then we have like a flat feed curve all the way through day 90, roughly. So that depending on if it's an old sow, if it's a big sow or a skinny sow. So we will feed them after condition. Most sows will just stay on maintenance feed in that period. And then from day 90, you will bump feed them. That means increase feed levels. And some people are likely to go up to maybe fat sows. You will just stay on maintenance feed. And the others, you will go up maybe. It's a bit difficult for me to say how many kilograms, because it's depending on the energy levels of your diet. And I'm Danish. We do a lot in feed units, or in England we do kilograms. So in this company, we have a diet that's suitable for 3.5 kilos in the last period. I will refer to a trial that's been done in Denmark where they're actually excluding the bump feeding in the end. And that extra bit, the feeding in the end, they're spreading out the whole gestation period, which makes sense because we have loose housing. And that gives a bit more calmness because we can feed them a little extra. It has shown in that trial that it doesn't benefit birth weight to bump feed them. But this is something there is also a variation between genetics companies. Some genetics companies do not bump feed. Some genetics companies recommend it. So I think it's also what's working with in your herd. So personally, I like a flat feed curve. I like my sows back in condition after 5 weeks. I would then keep them more or less flat all the way through. And then I will feed them maybe a bit more than maintenance during the whole gestation period because I would have my sows in a loose housing system while they're pregnant. So for me, that means that I can give them a little more feed, less competition, more calm sows. That's how I would do it. So a lot of people would like the bump feeding. So that goes up to maybe 3.5, 275, depending on where you are and what the sows is. Because when I send maintenance feed, there's a huge difference. It's like people. I'm 160 centimeters high, and I weigh just around 60 kilos. My maintenance will be like 1,300 calories, where I have a colleague that might be 2 meters tall and he's weighing 100 kilo. His maintenance feed might be 2,000. So it's the same with sows and gilts. So we cannot say everything in the same level. But unless you have electronic sow feeding, it's a bit difficult to feed gilts separate, sows separate, because you could have 3 categories of gilts and you could have 3 categories of younger animals, which is different demands. Okay, that I made that a bit complicated. I hope not. So anyway, back in condition after week 5, flat feed curve or bump feed them in the end for day 90 and up. When they go into the farrowing houses, back in the 90s, we used to feed them very little, maybe below maintenance, because we wanted them to be having an empty stomach. It has to be, or empty intestines. It has to be an easy farrowing, which actually gave them like 0 energy. So we would have like longer farrowings because the sows were flat out after maybe half an hour giving birth because it was so exhausting. So my recommendation is, depending on when you're putting in the farrowing houses, keep them above that maintenance if you're bump feeding, or keep them never, ever under maintenance feed. Always enough. And make sure you have enough water, so 4 liters per minute. You can also make your animals more active by adding, give them water, like I had a water hose. I know this is a lot of work. Or you can, if you have like an electronic feed system with liquid feed, you can just make like a thin soup just to get them more active, get them up before, if they're in a week before farrowing. If it's closed crates. Freedom farrowing is the same, never below maintenance. Outdoor sows, we don't go under maintenance. Yeah. Perfect. So so he had another question, and he's talking about colostrum. And I cannot go into like deep details, but in the ideal world, if you're looking at the physiology and how sows are developing udders and the milk in the last bit of the gestation, there are some really good podcasts out there, and it's explaining everything. It's very detailed, and it's about the amino acids, how they should be changed. But it's something they're still working on it. But it's amino acid. The amino acids profile should be changed slightly. I will mention one thing when we're talking about feeding before farrowing, and that is in concern to gilts. So we don't measure that much backfed on the gilts, which we probably should. Some companies, they don't. Some companies, they do. But we have to make sure that the gilts don't get too muscular. That is another thing. So find out with your genetics where the backfed should be, also on your sows. It's really, really important that we have sows and gilts, with the perfect backfed to go into the farrowing, because they're not milking off muscle tissue. They will milk off that backfed. and that is proven. And we do see a better performance again after that lactation period if the back fat is ideal. So that is one thing to look in at. Look at ask your genetic company what it should be, and then try and target that. So not too much lysine for the gilts, so we don't get that muscular. Yes.
Perfect. Have another one. I think you touched a little about chilling. So
Yeah.
what is the most common mistake in the first 2 hours after birth that contributes the most to mortality due to chilling?
Okay, 2 hours is a very little window, but still, again, if they are stuck behind the sows for that long period, it will be chilling. So prevent chilling. So it will be the same answer as the other one.
And if you could focus only in one thing to ensure proper colostrum intake in every litter, what would be?
What it will be for an optimal colostrum intake, for me, that will be split suckling. So I've been used to working with the Danish genetics, Danbred and Danish genetics. And one of the things that we have to do because of the large litter size is that we have to split suckle. So what I would do, the first thing I would do my overnight litters when I turn up in the morning. Some farms I've had the night shift, so they will be there during the night. Then you will let them drink. And then you know, okay, she started farrowing. I would record when she started farrowing, and then I can see, okay, now she has 18 piglets. Then I will take the piglet up and I look the umbilical cord. If that is dry, I will then shove them in a little box. We have a piglet corner in the pens in Denmark. So I would shut some of them in, make sure it's not going to be a sauna, because they also have a higher critical temperature, so we don't want to put them in a sauna. So I will keep 12, 14 piglets out of the other, preferable 12. I would never go down and just leave 5, because I want the other to be full, and I want them to push the sow that's stimulating her to produce more milk. So I will keep them. Let's say she had 24. That's an easy one. So I'll keep 12 in the corner or in the box, and then I will leave 12 out, and I will leave them out for an hour. And then I would write. I always had a piece of chalk, so I would write on the floor 10 o'clock, and then I could walk around and say, okay, it's 11 o'clock. I need to swap. Yeah. So that is the best way of making sure. And also a lot of places on the internet, it says that there's colostrum available for 24 hours. There isn't. That colostrum is actually, of course, it's at the highest when she's farrowing, and then it started decreasing. So after already 6-8 hours, we're down to 50%. So we don't have that much time. We don't have 24 hours. Everything should be done within 24 hours. So feel the belly and look at the umbilical cord if it's dry. It could be it's dry, but it's like the stomach is empty. Yeah, that is the best way of making sure that everybody gets colostrum, and preferable from their own mom.
Amazing.
Yeah. Good.
I have another one here. Is what early signs indicate that farrowing is becoming complicated, and when should staff intervene to avoid losses? Mm-hmm.
Okay, so the first indicator of a sow is stop farrowing is there is only one dry pig behind her, as an example, or there's 5 dry piglets and she's still pushing. So roughly about every 15-20 minutes she should come out with a new piglet, or you have to do an external. You have to help her, or you can see it sometimes she's out of breath. Mm-hmm. She's pressing, she's pushing, and nothing happens. Like she's in labor and she's really pushing and nothing comes out. This is when you should look. Never ever start giving oxytocin that stimulates contractions, because there could be a piglet stuck inside her. So you need to get your arm in.
Perfect. I have all the questions.
Oh, that was easy.
Yeah. So something that you want to add to kind of close and give you an advice that, hey guys, you should do this. Yes,
there is actually. So I just have a few things. Put your sows into the farrowing houses on time, 3 to 5 days before farrowing. Let them settle, and do not put your sows into a wet concrete or something with disinfectant. Do not let the sows dry out the stables. This is the first mistake you're making, because the udder is open and the concrete is wet, and we're getting all these bacteria. And it is really, really hard for a sow to spend her body warm to dry up wet concrete. Don't do that. It's not fair. She's going through such a hard time. So please, dry stables and give them enough time to settle. Second, make sure the temperature is about 20, 22 around farrowing. Lower it when the last sow in that section has farrowed, unless she's a week behind, so within reason. Give your sows rooting material. It does lower cortisol. It does calm her so much. If your slaughter system cannot handle straw or it's not available, you can take a sack, like a potato sack or some fabric that she can push around, and she will do that. Something that can stimulate her like she's rooting or nesting. Third, which is really, really, really important for piglet survival, is prevent the chilling. Make sure your fan speed is slowed down. You don't want to make it like a rainforest in there, but a humidity around 50, 60-ish, and not too high fan speed, depending on the time of year. And then make sure that these piglets are getting dried after farrowing, or you must add some more heat, preferably straw behind the sow, or you can take some sawdust in a bucket, and then you can dry the piglets, and then you put them to the other. So if we could lower that 45 minutes in average behind the sow and get them dried, put them to the other, that is the biggest win-win you're ever gonna have. If you're gonna have overnight farrowing house support, it's entirely up to you. I think it's a good idea. If you don't have any problems during the night, then I don't see why you should. It is not something that you should have. It's an idea. Everything is an idea. It's entirely up to you. Yes, and then it will be, look at these light bulbs. So you have to think about the sow is giving birth to a large litter. Sometimes if you measure the radius underneath the heat lamp, it might be like 35 in diameter, and that can maybe hold 10 piglets in that temperature that's required, so the 35 degrees. So think about the range or the square meters that the heat lamp can heat up. I hope it makes sense, doesn't it? So that all the piglets can get enough heat. Yeah, that will be my end. Make sure that they don't get cold. This is the biggest mistakes. When a piglet get cold, they want to be underneath the sow because she's been heating up the slats, and there you go, it's laid on. If you do a postmortem on these laid on piglets, even big piglets, you will very often find that the stomach is empty. They've been so cold. And I have people saying, I don't understand this, Sanne, I have all these big piglets, and they're just dead in the morning, they're big, nice piglets. And then we cut them open and the stomach is completely empty. They've been struggling. So please take care of your piglets and add that extra heat. And it's indoor and it's outdoor. I've seen people outdoor driving around with piglets in a bucket in wintertime, and the piglets are sitting, and they are so cold when they get into the hot. And we have the same problem. It's nice where the sow's been in the straw. They bury themselves into the straw. The sows come in, and she lays on them, and she doesn't hear them scream because the straw is taking the noise. So it's everywhere. Piglets outdoor, they do freeze, so they cannot, it's a very little sensitive animal when it's newborn.
So let's see. Seems like 4 people was connected in YouTube, and I have one question that I'm gonna read it right now to you. So, do you rotate your piglets on the teats to ensure proper weight gain of all, or are all teats contain the same content of milk?
Yes, so this is probably somebody who had puppies on a dog, because on puppies you can rotate your puppy litters. I did that myself. That's why I think that maybe it could be it. So it's different with piglets, because the piglets, they have like a tit order. So after 24 hours, if we leave them, they're gonna have their own tit. So they're gonna suckle the exact same. I don't rotate them. I don't. So this is nature. So the front tits of a sow is giving more milk than the lower ones. So it's important within the litter you have like large, medium, and small pigs, because this is what it is. You know, the sow, if that was meant to be, the sow would have 12 pigs on a uniform size. That's not the ideal world, and it shouldn't be. The ideal world is to have actually almost 3 sizes of pigs within the litter, because the tits are different. So that is my experience, and this is creating less mixing with the pigs. So leave as many pigs as possible with their own mom. This is where you get the best outcome. Yep.
Let me ask if we have another question from the guys that they are in YouTube, and I will pass it on to you, okay?
Yep.
Okay, seems like they were just listening. All the good
No,
stuff.
that's fine. That's absolutely fine.
And I think this is, oh, seems like one. Oh, nice. Somebody say yes. Two more. So good.
Good.
Let me read it to you, okay?
Yep.
What is the best way to implement split suckling?
Yeah, so the best, as I said earlier, this might be a new one, but the best way is when you got your overnight litters, or when the sow is farrowing, when you can see now there's too many piglets and there's not enough tits, then you start taking the pigs up. You fill the belly if it's full. Look at the umbilical cord; it has to be dry. So let's say we got 18 or 20. We got 20 piglets. And then I look at all the piglets and I see, oh, there's 10 with a dry umbilical cord. The belly looks full. Then I take them piglets and I put them up in a box. And then I leave them there for about an hour. And as I said again, I carry a piece of chalk, or I write on the sow card or in my book, 10 o'clock, I shot these pigs in. 11 o'clock, I will swap them round. Again, the ideal thing is to get it done very quickly. They need about an hour, because she will give milk every 45 minutes. So when the colostrum in there, the milk should be there almost like constantly. But it's important to give them about an hour. If you can see after half an hour, or they're all lying sleeping, then swap them or open up so everybody can get out. Make sure that you don't make them too cold. That's another thing. So it doesn't have to be like 60 minutes. If they finish drinking after 30 minutes and you can see that done, they're getting cold, do something. Yeah.
I have another one, and he or she is asking, in an indoor farrowing room, would you recommend placing gilts between older sows for calming? And that one is Stefan.
Yeah.
So did you get the question? Or yeah,
I got the question. Yeah, I'm just thinking about it.
Fantastic.
Yeah, so I think it could create the calmness. I've always kept my gilts in at the same end of the farrowing, because I think that a gilt could feel like, if she's in between 2 big sows and she's standing there, little one, maybe she feels a bit like an underdog, because she would be maybe the lower ranking. So I think I like to have my gilts, the younger ones, loaded in the same end of the farrowing room. I don't mix them. I make sure that the environment in the farrowing is calm. That calmness can be created by giving sufficient amount of rooting material. And what is sufficient amount? Because that is in some animal welfare laws, you say sufficient. It's not a handful. It's like a pile of straw. Or I've seen in Holland, they've been using the sacks. They give the sows and then they can mess them around. So give them something that can occupy them. Pigs are curious creatures, and they will be very interested in everything that comes down, in the farrowing pen. Yeah. Outdoor sows is different, as I said, because the younger ones are more likely to go together in huts. Then I would do like old, young. But we're talking about they have a lot of space, so it's different. Yeah.
Okay, guys, almost we are finished. Please, if you need to ask something else to Sanne, so this is the time. So let's see.
Thank you.
Let's see if somebody else kind of wanted to ask something else. One more.
Well, that's good.
That's good.
Yeah.
So let me wait just to get that one. So do you spend regularly visit times during the days leading up to the commencement of the farrowing? Let's see. Do you spend regular visiting times during the days leading up to the commencement, like at the beginning of farrowing, after they have been put in their crate or ark, to make her used to the presence of a care?
Sorry, of the pregnant of. So the question is, if I go into the farrowing houses when they've just been put in, is that what it says?
Oh, I'm gonna try to read it.
Okay.
Better. So
maybe I can see it.
I think it's Stefan again. Stefan again. Don't ask so many hard questions, Stefan.
I can see the question here actually.
Fantastic.
Yes. Do you spend regular visiting times during days leading up to the commencement of farrowing after they have been put in the crate or ark to make her used to presence of carer? All right, I got you. So no, not really. No, I don't. I think I will go in and check on them, and if I know this is getting close to farrowing, I will be there more often. I will not make it. I will give them the quietness, because a sow was actually like to get away from everything when she's farrowing. Ideally, she should just be in a box, where she couldn't see anybody, because this is what she likes. She's not used to all this, so I will make it as calm as possible. Of course, I will go in with my feedings, make sure they're up. I'll go and check on them. If I got something that's nervous, again, I would maybe put some feed on the floor if that's possible, or some straw to calm them. But I wouldn't go in there. I think my sows are, the places I've been working are used to having people around. They go out and socialize in the gestation. So they're used to my voice or other people's voices. So I wouldn't go in there unnecessarily. No, make sure that your farrowing is not a highway. It has to be quiet and calm. Yeah.
Very good. Seems like Stefan have a lot of questions. Good for you and good for us. Even yourself was reading and you speak English better than me, of course.
I didn't know I could read it. I just saw that, I was moving my mouse over the screen, and I thought, oh, the chat came up. Well, every day is a school day, as I said. I'm not an IT person, but
So that's good that we are getting better in IT. You and
Yeah,
me.
yeah, yeah.
So
This is the
you can
future.
read that question already there.
Yes. What is the most successful artificial insemination and heat detection protocol in your experience? Oh, now we're changing the subject. Yeah, we can talk about heat. Successful artificial insemination. Well, I don't do natural servings, so I'd only do artificial. So I'm not quite sure what is the most successful artificial insemination and heat detection. So heat detection, I will introduce the boar to the sows after weaning 24 hours before I expect the heat. So maybe on day 3, depending on the length of my heat in the stables. Let's say it's 4 days. Day 3, I take the boars out. After 24 hours to see the boar again, and we get this surprise effect. So this is well known. It's been done for many years. Then I will not, the best heat detection is done by putting a boar in front of the sows. And if we're talking about, we have a line of sows, or you're having 4 sows you're bringing into the boar, and now I'm saying 4, it could be 3. It has to be no more that you will be able to inseminate within 20 minutes from they see the boar till you're done. That's something to do with the hormones, because then the level of hormones is dropping. Oxytocin is one of them. And then the semen, that helps transporting the semen. So all this stimulation, human stimulation, 1 minute, 60 seconds, not 15 seconds. I don't care if she's solid standing. Wrap the flanks, give a knee in the back, do like the boar would do, and then you inseminate her. That is important. That is the best way of doing it. Heat detection, if you're going around after all this insemination is done, if you're going to find returns, use the boar. If you're having indoor system, bring the boars down the passageway and take your time. This is so well spent. One non-productive day is about what would that be? About £5, or what would that be? What would that be in euros? 7-8 euros, 6-7-8 euros per day per sow. So this is per day. So very quickly you could gain that money back. So, and they will smell the boar. They might not be able to see him if your partitions in your pens is high, but they can smell him. And trust me, if they're on heat, they will be standing at the gate. Outdoor, you can put boars in with the sows, or I'm a bit of a control freak. So when I did outdoor, I had my boar in a trailer on my ATV, and then I would drive around in the paddocks. And then the sows on heat, they will come up to the trailer, and then I would inseminate them. That's how I did it. That's not very normal, but I'm not super normal. But it worked for me, because then I knew what was being inseminated. Yeah.
Okay. Oh,
yeah.
Perfect. So seems like everybody is quiet now. So no more questions.
And one thing about the insemination, of course, because now we're talking indoor, outdoor, it's always important that you keep the semen at 16 to 18. And if you keep it in a box, that box is not going to be standing on the floor heating. I've seen that, people that have a box and it's on the floor heating, on a heated floor indoor in a nice cozy room, and then you put the semen into that and it's nice and warm, and the semen just starts to swim around, and then it's actually dead before you use it, or tired. So outdoor, again, also make sure you have a box you can connect it to a battery, make sure that it has the right temperature.
Perfect. Was fun.
Oh yeah, we did cover a bit of farrowing houses and then insemination.
Yeah. And
well, thanks everybody for bringing all the questions, and thanks for attending, and thanks for having me.
And I will thank you again, because you are a super smart girl. And
oh, thank you.
Perfect. So thank you.
I hope that
I will appreciate everyone who was in YouTube, and to the next, because this is just the beginning.
It is. And anything, reach out and go out and save some piglets, get that farrowing house warm for the piglets. That is the number one. Yeah,
Perfect.
don't make them freeze.
Oh yeah. Thank
Yeah.
you, Sanne, again.
Thank you.
Take care.
And you. Bye-bye.
Bye bye.
Recording stopped.